This year as UPASI president has been very enriching for me. I've had the opportunity to interact with many senior officials of the ministry, the commodity boards, many experts with various diverse fields working with the plantation sector and the plantation fraternity at large. This has been a very valuable learning experience as I gain detailed insights into the working of our sector. I hope to share some of these learnings with you today. What stands out as unique for our business is the long gestation period of our crops. Our crops take anywhere between 4 to 7 years before they start yielding economic returns. So this is a major challenge. Unlike other agricultural crops where the farmer can decide at the end of the year he can switch crops, we don't have the luxury to do that. And many of the states where we operate, the land laws also do not permit us to grow other crops, even intercrop with certain other crops, etc. So this is very unique to our sector, but this is a challenge which can be managed with good medium to long-term strategy. So it's important to view the plantation sector also in South India from a global and Indian perspective. See, India today is the 6th largest economy in the world. We have one of the highest growth rates of any economy that is there in the world. So very soon we will become the 4th largest economy in the world. So what does this mean for us in the plantation sector? The per capita income in India has been rising. It's risen over 50% in the last 10 years. Right now, the per capita income in India is 96,000 rupees per person per annum. So if you look at this from a South Indian context, the per capita income in Karnataka is 1,76,000 rupees. So we are 80% higher. Tamil Nadu and Kerala are about 10,000 rupees less than Karnataka, but we are 80% higher than the Indian average. So the Indian average, you will have many states that are much lower than the Indian average too. So as a result of this, we in South India pay amongst the highest wages for the plantations that is paid anywhere in the world. Kerala pays a wage of 493, Karnataka a similar wage, Tamil Nadu also within that range. With benefits, our costs are over 700 rupees. So compare this with Sri Lanka, which is 250 rupees until this recent hike, which marginally took it up. But Assam and Doas, which makes more than 80% of India's tea, is also 250 rupees. So this is one major challenge. Our wages are not, what we pay now is not a living wage. It is not a minimum wage. We are paying in South India market wage. It's something we need to be proud of. This wage is enough to incentivize workers in far-flung parts of India like Madhya Pradesh, Jharkhand, etc., to move thousands of kilometers with their families, come here and work. So our wage is good enough to do that because we have 30 to 40% of our workers today are migrant workers. This is also, see, when the per capita income rises, with that, when the development index goes up, with that comes the added problems of a developed economy or a more developed state compared to other states in India. The birth rate in Kerala is 1.8, and it's been there like that for many, many years. Most of the managers here can relate to me when I said we closed down all our creches about 20 years back. Now we're reopening them to cater to the migrant workers because the birth rate of these migrant workers is higher. So we are operating in a very different environment, and it's because of these macro factors. And these factors only, as the economy keeps improving, the South Indian states are growing at an even faster rate. So we need to be prepared for this challenge. We need to be aware that this is the path we're going in, and we would have to be paying higher wages. So we at UPASI, when we've interacted with the government on various forums, our request has been, traditionally we come under the Commerce Ministry because the plantation industry was viewed as a foreign exchange earner. Those days are gone now. The Indian economy has changed. We are not a very significant foreign exchange earner as such. So we should be viewed in terms of the number of lives we impact. In India, there are about 20 lakh growers in India. The plantation sector employs about 24 lakh direct workers, most of them women in rural places. If you added to that the support system and the larger economy, millions of people are dependent on this. So South India, the three southern states where UPASI is present, 63% of all growers are in these three southern states. And 47% of all workers across India are in these three southern states. So this highlights our region's dominance. So we have been talking to government, we should be viewed in terms of the employment and the number of lives we impact. So any schemes that come out, budget outlays, this should be their primary thought process before which they allocate funds for our sector. The major change that we are facing, apart from the high cost environment with which we are operating, is climate change. Ladies and gentlemen, this climate change is real. It has not happened this year. You might see a landslide this year and we think, okay, it's because of climate change that landslide has happened. But we have all witnessed climate change that's been slowly happening over the last 2 decades. I personally have a lot of interest in the Anamalays. The Anamalays was known as God's own country for tea because it had rain 11 months of the year. The district with just about 9,000 odd hectares of plantations used to make 30 million kgs of tea. Now it makes 18 million kgs of tea. This is purely because it's no more 11 months. Now we have 4-5 months without rain, temperatures have gone up, we have tea mosquito, other pests and diseases. So the challenge, it's insurmountable. So we need to be aware that this is what is happening to us. Even any macro factors today, see, we coffee growers might be happy that coffee prices have improved a bit. But why have coffee prices improved? Because of climate change. Brazil has suffered. Crops have suffered in Brazil. In Vietnam, what they've done is certain parts of Vietnam, which is a large producer of coffee, is no longer viable. It's being converted to fruit crops like durian and other crops. So this is again due to climate change. Any challenge being faced, if we were to give blindly and answer climate change, you would be right most of the time. So the way to combat this, where we're lagging behind, is through research and development. We know what is required, in terms of plant health, soil health, other parameters which we can improve, which can help us combat climate change. So we have been lacking in the past. UPASI had several meetings this year. And I also had the opportunity to meet the finance minister on the pre-budget memorandum, where we were the only organization from the planting industry that was called. So we have stressed, Government of India right now spends 0.7% of their GDP on R&D. The government's goal is to increase that to 2%. So our request has been that we should also increase for the plantation sector accordingly. Thrust should be given. Right now, the amount being spent on research and development is minuscule. It is not sufficient for us to combat these challenges. It hasn't been sufficient over the last few years also. So we are hopeful. We're working with government. It's been well received. The recent schemes that have come, we are seeing an improvement in outlay, and we're hopeful that there will be a positive outcome in this in the years to come. And in the Ministry of Commerce, it hasn't been business as usual. There has been a lot of activity this year. We understand that the commodity bills are in an advanced stage for its introduction in Parliament. So these new acts on which UPASI has given its detailed comments should make it more relevant to the present day context and create a conducive environment for doing plantation business. So this is in line with the Modi government of ease of doing business in India. So these acts were long overdue. Some of them were from the time when we got independence, etc. So they have now been revamped, and hopefully how they worded, they will improve our business. These Chintan Shivers, which are brainstorming sessions to discuss the reforms of these commodity boards, were held by each of the commodity boards in the last year. And UPASI was present and we gave our views. There was a combined Chintan Shivar under the chairmanship of the Commerce Secretary, which was held in Coorg. I was invited to that as the representative for the plantation sector. We had detailed deliberations on how the board should function. It was an excellent opportunity because we were invited to criticize the boards. So that's what we do most of the time in our committee meetings. So anyway, so it was good to get the opportunity with all the board representatives to be able to tell them what was lacking, how they should go about improving themselves. So it was very well received. We have said, see, the board should become facilitators rather than regulators. They have to support industry through marketing, generic promotion, and export promotion, and transform themselves with the changing times. So this is in the works. There's been a lot of work happening, and something positive will hopefully come out of this. Moving on to tea. In tea, the biggest problem we are facing is globally there is excess production. So as a result of that, tea prices in real terms have been declining for 6 decades. So we have been operating in an environment from 1960, tea prices have been declining in real terms. And from 2011, these tea prices have been declining at a accelerated rate of 2.4% per annum. That is adjusted for inflation, our prices have been declining by 2.4% per annum. In South India, the global trend, we are very different, because as I'll explain, see, from 2011 to 2023, in Northeast India, in Guwahati, and in Assam and West Bengal, the production increased from 875 million kgs to 1,157 million kgs, which was an increase of 2.5%. Kenya, which is the largest exporter of black tea, the production increased from 340 million to 377 million to 570 million. So they have been increasing in this last 12 years at a rate of 4%. So what has been happening in South India? In 2011, we had a production of 240 million kgs. So in 2023, we had a production of 236 million kgs. So we have been declining at a rate of 0.02%. So we at UPASI, when we were analyzing the area under tea, every few years there's a survey done on the total hectarage under tea. In 2005, when the survey was done, there was 119,000 hectares under tea in South India, all the three southern states. In 2023, when the survey was done, there was just about 100,000 hectares. So 19,000 hectares has been removed from tea. It's gone for other purposes. It is no longer tea plantations. So that is equivalent to having 2 districts being removed. So this is the environment with which we are operating. As the ED Tea Board mentioned yesterday afternoon when he was speaking to us, that its tea production goals to increase, it is not possible to horizontally increase them by increasing area. In fact, our areas are shrinking, and if the trends continue, these areas will further shrink. So it's important for us to increase these areas by increasing yield. So increasing productivity. That is the way forward. So there has to be, that is a solution we have represented to government. We will continue to do that. There has to be support for rejuvenation and replanting. If South India is to continue to make tea, if this 100,000 hectares are to be maintained, we need about 2% of our area to be replanted, for 2,000 hectares to be replanted. In 2,000 hectares today, the costs are 20 to 25 lakhs a hectare. So you need every year 400 to 500 crores of money that is required for this replanting to happen. Replanting right now is negligible, barring few unique cases. Nobody is doing replanting. They cannot afford to do replanting. So the government has to come out with a scheme where this is addressed. So hopefully there will be something positive in this outcome in the next plan that comes. See, the global situation, the Vice President, Secretary General, and I had the opportunity to attend the FAO Intergovernmental Group meeting in Guwahati, where all the major tea producing nations were there, and the major tea consuming nations were there. So the feedback from all of them, all the African countries, from China, the feedback we received was, there's a glut. They're not able to sell the tea they're producing. They have excess stocks. So it's the same story everywhere. So there's very little in our control that we can do. So we need to look at our domestic market. A domestic market is an opportunity for us to be able to steady this our position and protect the lives that are dependent on our sector. There was a study done by BDO on the per capita consumption of tea. So this from the year 2017 to 2023. So this was a period of about 6 years. This study indicated that 786 grams of per capita consumption in 2017 has increased to 840 grams. So this is an increase of less than 1%. As we spoke, the production in Northeast, which makes 80% of the tea, it's been increasing by 2.5%. When consumption increases by 1%. So this is the result we have been seeing with depressed prices and the losses that we've been incurring. So it's encouraging. We've repeatedly represented to Tea Board, we've represented to Ministry of Commerce for generic promotion, and in the recently finalized and approved medium-term framework, they have approved 70 crores towards generic promotion. So when we met senior officials from the Commerce Ministry and also understand the thinking of the government, there was a request for them to say, they wanted industry participation. So UPASI at the executive committee level deliberated, and we said it's fair enough that industry should also, we should take our fate in our own hands, and considering the prices, considering our affordability, we thought that we will put forth an initial proposal that why doesn't industry contribute 50 paisa per kilo, provided the buyers also contribute 50 paisa per kilo. Our logic was simple, about 1,300 million kgs is produced, 50 paisa will give you another 70 crores, government puts 70 crores, we put in another 70 crores, and the buyers put in 70 crores, at least we will have an ongoing fund. So when this proposal was taken up in the Tea Board, the chairman of the Tea Board, who was additional secretary, he suggested that the buyers have a higher margin, so they should contribute more. So I was surprised that FITA and the main buyer lobbies came forward agreeing to pay up to 2 rupees. So, the chairman of the North Indian Planters Association said, we have a higher price, we look at 1 rupee from auction teas. So this is a very positive outcome, because if you look at commodities that have done well, milk has promoted itself very well to increase milk consumption, because milk production was far exceeding demand some time back. But they have promoted the health benefits of milk, and that's done well. So has eggs. Egg also, they have a body that has done this. So we have studied that. So we need something like that for tea in order for us to, it should be an ongoing effort. If government gives 70 crores and that money is spent within 6 months or 1 year, we are not going to see any kind of lasting benefits in that. So some of the suggestions that we've put forward is that it should be a joint initiative, not just government, it should be a joint initiative of the private sector and government. A committee of experts should be formed with representatives from UPASI, with representatives from FITA, the buying body, with experts from the media, and hopefully the Tea Board, so that this committee can have a strategy in place. Primarily, campaign should be focused on promoting the goodness of tea, the health benefits, the natural aspects of tea to the younger generation, to the Gen Zs, Gen Alpha, and improve the image of tea so that we have more drinkers coming in from the younger generation. So that is the challenge that we are having at the moment. So this is it's very positive outcome. What I think is this industry, we should take matters into our own hands, and whatever little bit of money that's spent in this, we will definitely see returns on that. On the export front, there's been positive news this year. The last few years, export volumes were stagnant. So this year, up to July, exports from India has increased by 22.6 million kgs. So the good thing about that is that 62% of that increase has come from South India. There is a lot of requirement today for teas that are MRL compliant, that meet all international standards. So we in South India have a unique advantage here. where our teas are pesticide free. So largely, it is a very stray case. Otherwise, most of our teas are pesticide free due to the plucking interval, due to the cultivation operations we face, and also even including the small grower sector. By and large, our teas are pesticide free. So there is a huge advantage both internationally and domestically. So these export volumes, what we see is on account of, partly on account of that. Increased demand domestically is also partly on account of that. But as I had mentioned to you, when you have so much of an excess supply globally, we are seeing this uptick in volumes, but going forward, you're going to see increased competition because there is just too much tea. So we need to promote our regions, we need to brand our teas, we need to brand Indian tea, we need to promote single origins, we need to start, some of our produce, especially the Nilgiri producers, have done a phenomenal job in this. They have, in an environment where there's a glut in supply, they have built relationships, they've taken this forward by promoting themselves, promoting the region, and promoting the certification and promoting the MRL level. So we need to do that on a larger scale for South India. So, and take this to our major markets like Russia, Iran, Saudi Arabia. Each of these markets is important. So we don't need to go all over the place. There's 3-4 markets to start with. If we can consolidate those markets, our volumes are anyway not going to increase in a major way. So we will be able to export sufficient teas to keep our domestic markets in a healthy level. Tea prices too, after many, many years, have shown some hope that they will improve. We've got the Director of Plantations, Mr. Gaba, so I will just slowly interrupt to welcome him, and then we will go back to my speech. Thank you, sir, for taking the effort and coming down today. I think it must have been a very early start for you, some 4 a.m. or 3 a.m., I think. So we really appreciate the effort that you've taken to come down. Mr. Neeraj Gaba is an MBA in International Business. He did his BE in Indian Institute of Technology, Roorkee, and he did 1-year leadership and general management program in INSEAD. He was selected by UPSC as a lateral entrant to Indian Civil Services before joining to the ministry. He worked as business manager Hindustan Unilever Limited for 16 years, a graduate engineer trainee at Tata Motors, management trainee with Louis Dreyfus Group, manager business development with Polyplex Company, and vice president Livingard Technologies. Currently, he is the director of plantations under the Ministry of Commerce and Industry. Our immediate past president, Jeffrey, used to tell me that because coffee prices were very good last year, so he said when a tea person becomes president, tea prices will improve. So I was waiting for about 10 months, nothing happened. So just as my term is getting over, prices have started improving in the last month. So this is a positive outcome, but in spite of him stepping down as coffee president, coffee prices continue to go up even further. So I'm hoping that this trend will continue for tea, and tea prices will go in further. And fortunately for us, I think the incoming president is not a coffee man. So he's also a tea man, so our prices will go good. This is a positive sign we've seen this year. But the reason, we've seen a good jump in prices, but the reason again is climate change. India has had a shortfall of 85 million kgs up to July. The shortfall this year is equivalent to the shortfall we had during COVID. COVID is when we shut down Assam and Doas for 2 months. So the climate change can have that impact. It can have an impact of closing down your business for 2 months at a go or 3 months at a go. So we've discussed about that earlier, so it's a positive thing. So I would like to believe that I brought some luck to UPASI. So on the auction front, UPASI has always been a supporter of the Bharat auctions. Bharat auctions, we engaged with Tea Board. We gave our suggestions. When these auctions were conceptualized and rolled out, we readily supported for them to be rolled out in South India first. And these auctions were working for more than a year in South India. We gave our suggestions, we kept refining it, improving it, and the system worked well. But in the last year, there's been a lot of commotion when Northeast India started implementing these auctions and the prices were not doing good. They blamed it on the auction system. We do not believe it's right to have done that. It was a demand-supply equation. We were able to represent to the ministry and T-Board to retain Bharat auctions because the ministry decided that to roll back to the English auction system. So we represented to them for South India that we would like this to be retained. And fortunately, they agreed to our suggestion and Bharat auction has been retained. So what has happened subsequent to that is testament to our original beliefs. Prices now are a fraction of demand and supply. Prices have gone up now. Because there's been more demand, there's less supply. Even just by switching the auction system, nothing happened in Guwahati or in Calcutta. Now prices are improving because there is there's a better demand. But as a result of all this confusion, the government constituted a Ramasheshan committee, an expert committee of 3 members to study both the Bharat auction, English auction, take stakeholder consultation, and come up with some recommendations. So this committee has met all stakeholders. We have met the committee twice from UPASI. We also traveled to Calcutta to give our views to this committee and hear of their findings. They have also vindicated our stand. They've come forth with the same suggestion that most of these parameters that are there in the Bharat auction are for the advantage of the fair price discovery and for sellers. So they've given some very good suggestions too, that sampling should be the prerogative of the seller. Today, sellers are spending a lot of money on sampling. It's important that we take control of that because we don't want samples going to people who are not even going to look at your tea or buy it. So this is a positive welcome from that. Also, the present system, when it was rolled out, there were a lot of areas where it was not rolled out as conceptualized, increasing the paperwork and work required. So the new system has suggested a unified transaction portal, similar to your GST portal and other government portals that are there. It's one place where all the transactions will be recorded. So this is a welcome suggestion. A few of the recommendations on tolerance limit for reserve price, UPASI was not in agreement with that, so we have given, and third-party sampling, we have given our views. Hopefully when it does get rolled out, our views will be considered. Coffee, moving on to coffee, I think already I've told you that the prices are going up and they continue to go up, so let's hope that trend continues. Indian coffee is exported all over the world. It's known for its quality. Last year, coffee exports were 10,187 crores. While current prices are good, industry is doing well, we should step back and not forget the past. So the struggling we had in the past, the poor prices, we need to look at the macro picture of coffee too. India produces just 3.2% of the world's coffee. And our export share is a little higher at 3.9%. So if you put this in comparison, and take 2 countries, that is Brazil and Vietnam, just these 2 countries produce 55% of the world's coffee. So here, it just shows whatever happens here, we are not in control of this. So if Brazil is going to have a good rain, if Brazil has a 10% higher crop than projected, or Vietnam, our prices will decline. So here again to take matters into our hands, we have to also see that we are not as competitive in terms of yield when you compare ourselves to Vietnam or Brazil. Our yields are about 790 kgs. The Vietnam yields are 2,800 kgs. That's a multiple of ours. And Brazil is 1,600 a kg. Our coffee, however, is more sustainable because it's shade grown. But unfortunately, we are not getting a premium for being sustainable or being shade grown. So we have taken up, this needs to be highlighted, and how to kind of say we're shade grown coffee and get a premium for it from our export markets. Coffee growers, 99% of all coffee growers are small growers. So to ensure the long-term sustainability of the industry, like what I mentioned about tea, we should look at promoting coffee consumption in India. Unfortunately, the CRISIL report that came out on coffee consumption in India 2023 indicated a per capita consumption declined by 2 grams from 66 grams to 64 grams from 2012 to 2023. So if it's, I mean, you see people, the younger generation drinks more coffee now, more people are consuming coffee, but over a 10-year period, the per capita consumption, as it is 66 grams, is very, very low in terms of per capita consumption when you compare it to other countries, but it has been declining. The reason for this is simple, it's just one word, it's chicory. As per the Ernst & Young report, the strategic roadmap for Indian coffee sector, chicory is a low-cost additive that is mixed with coffee by roasters. This done to increase the profit of roasters but reduces the farmer's share in the price of a retail coffee cup. UPASI over the last 2 years has been working with Coffee Board to include the specifications on the front side of the package as it would enable consumers to make an informed choice while buying coffee. I was talking to a friend recently about this and I said coffee consumption has come down. He's not from the industry. He's asking me what is chicory. So he has been drinking coffee with 30-40% chicory, not knowing that he's been drinking chicory also. So we have said the labeling should be front and center. It should be proportionate to the size of the package. Give the consumer the choice, but at least let's keep them informed that there is so much percentage of chicory. This same study said if there's a 70% coffee chicory blend, the farmer's share of a cup of coffee is only 5.9%. So we have a very, very minuscule share. So the coffee has very low price elasticity. So if the chicory content can be limited, definitely coffee consumption will improve. All over the world, the trend is towards pure coffee. Even in India, the new coffee chains that are coming up, it's towards pure coffee. And the way our coffee industry is structured, we should look at what has happened in Colombia, South America, Ethiopia, other countries where specialty coffee has taken off. I had the opportunity during the Chintan Shiva to listen to a presentation by the Colombian coffee growers. They have done an excellent job in terms of branding their specialty coffees and getting a premium for their coffees. As a result, the growers are enjoying a much better price. So here too, we need to look along those lines rather than how to get in specialty coffee, how to promote pure coffee as a beverage for the choice of youth world over. The World Coffee Conference that was conducted by the Commerce Ministry in collaboration with Coffee Board is a testament to the potential that is available in front of us. There was an overwhelming response by the domestic sector. All participants from the domestic sector, including consumers, machinery manufacturers, packers, blenders, roasters. So the Coffee Board has conceptualized multiple initiatives towards transforming of coffee sector in the country based on the results of this. So to approach as an action plan for growth in the sector, a stakeholder consultation meeting was also organized recently to deliberate on diverse themes from farm to markets. These initiatives on implementation could prove the way forward for the coffee sector. The development schemes for the coffee sector under the medium-term framework, the allocations have been improved and have now been fixed at 630 crores, which is a significant increase compared to the budgetary allocation in the last couple of years, which would facilitate actioning many of the initiatives. We thank the Government of India as increasing the outlay for the boards. UPASI also supports these initiatives, which we believe would provide much needed boost to the coffee sector in the country, and Coffee Board should ensure that these are implemented to achieve the objectives envisaged. A special focus should be given to implementation of the latest technologies too. Those of you who were here yesterday afternoon, Dr. Jagdisha, the Secretary of Coffee Board, presented the 2047 plan. It's an excellent plan. UPASI fully endorses that plan. It will, most of the challenges what I mentioned now of increasing domestic coffee consumption, increasing exports, value addition, all are covered in that plan. But from past experience, we are currently at about $1.2 billion, at around 10,000 crores of exports. So as per that plan, the intention in 2047 is to have $6 billion worth of exports. So this is the equivalent of 50,000 crores, approximately 48 to 50,000 crores. Earlier, when we were talking about current outlay for tea, rubber, coffee, our representation to the ministry was at least 5% of the projected turnover export revenue should be plowed back to achieve that revenue. So here, if we are going to achieve, Dr. Jagdish's plan was excellent, but our views to that is there should be an outlay that makes it possible to implement that plan. If it's going to be, if the government is looking at a 50,000 crore projection, they need to be willing to spend 2,500 crores. If you're going to do this 500, 600 crores, achieving that 50,000 crores is going to get delayed. So the ministry is in the best position to know how to do it, but the allocation has to be proportionate to what our goals and targets are. Moving on to natural rubber, the natural rubber too is it's very different from tea. Here you have demand increasing globally. There's a short supply. There is estimate here that 2.7 million to 5.3 million additional hectares of plantation area would be required by 2030 to fulfill the increasing demand. The landscape is changing both globally and domestically. Globally, if you see internationally, the Ivory Coast, which is a very small producer, which is making 2.89 lakh tons in 2013, now produces 13 lakh tons in 2023. They have become the third largest producer. On the domestic front too, I had the opportunity to attend the India Rubber Meet in Guwahati. It was very impressive to see what Rubber Board is doing in the Northeast. They have created an entire ecosystem to plant 2 lakh hectares of rubber in the Northeast. This is real, it's happening. The nurseries are there, the plants are there, so the people, the expertise is there, and this 50,000 hectares a year plantation is happening. They're on target to achieve. So this is a positive outcome, and it will definitely help the country reduce its import bill and the tire industry. While this is positive, UPASI is of the opinion that the traditional areas are low-hanging fruit. So by promoting production in the traditional areas, by improving tapping and rain guarding, especially with the kind of weather we're seeing now, by helping the small farmers and other growers do proper rain guarding, these trees are already there, the crop is there. By taking these measures, we can have production immediately. So the EUDR compliance, I'll speak more about that a little later, but in the context of rubber, the traditional areas are EUDR compliant, so there's no ambiguity on that. So they will provide a ready source of raw material that the rubber industry can process and export to the European Union. Compound rubber imports have increased from 11,000 tons to about 170,000 tons over a period of 10 years. We have repeatedly represented to the ministry, and it was a welcome sign that in the Union Budget 22-23, the import duty on compound rubber was increased from 10 to 25% or 30 rupees, whichever is lower. However, this will only apply to the most favored nation status, and it does not apply to free trade agreements. For example, the Indo-ASEAN Free Trade Agreement continues to have a conceded tariff of 0%. UPASI is of the opinion that most of the imports are coming in from Thailand, from Indonesia, from countries that are under this Indo-ASEAN Free Trade Agreement. So having this import duty of 30 rupees a kilo has become more of an academic exercise. So we are of the opinion that there should be some checks and balances, at least approvals in terms of getting it in, and to also re-look at the duties. One of our long pending requests also is these SION norms, standard input-output norms, which were framed many, many years back. So these are the basis in which the tire industry imports rubber. So as per the imports rubber duty-free. So as per these norms, currently 44% natural rubber content is specified as required. But as per the tire industry norms itself, it is only 18% at the moment. So they are able to import more than what is actually required. So we have requested that these norms be revised and updated. We're hopeful that some outcome will come in this. So I have some good news to announce today. That is, UPASI along with Rubber Board has had consultations on taking rubber research forward. What is required by the growers, and Rubber Board has the Rubber Research Institute with a lot of expertise in this. So there's been deliberations and areas to further collaborate, and we will be signing an MOU today on collaboration on research, extension, and training. So may I invite the Executive Director from Rubber Board, Mr. Vasanta Geesan, and our Secretary General UPASI to sign the MOU, please. So moving on to spices, India is a land of spices. We have the ideal climate, soil types to grow a variety of spices. Spice exports have been quite impressive over the years. They now account for 10% of total agricultural exports from the country and 40% of all horticultural exports. Value addition in spices needs to be encouraged, as presently value addition in spices is limited to oils, oleoresins, ground spices, curry powder, and dehydrated and frozen dried shrimps. The potential for micro-encapsulated spices and sterilized spices for exports is there. In 23-24, spice exports were $4.4 billion US dollars. With the value addition and marketing, this can be increased further. The presentation by Spices Board yesterday had, again for the 2047, they had a very impressive target of $25 billion. So it is possible, because India has more than 16, 17 agroclimatic regions. We are suited to grow almost every spice that is there, most of it. So it is possible. Here again, I will reiterate to the ministry that allocation should be in line with projections. So there is also a lot of potential for intercropping of high value spices in plantations, more relevant to us, where we can assist in reducing the import duty. I was surprised to learn that India imports 1,352 crores worth of cloves. We import 800 crores worth of cinnamon. We also import 325 crores worth of nutmeg and maize. This can be grown. Our regions are suitable for this. This can be grown, so this will also help reduce the import bill, and there's a readily available market that is there for that. On black pepper, GST on black pepper, we have taxing the farmer on basic operations to make the crop that is fit for transport and storage is contrary to the objective of value addition at the farm gate. So UPASI has represented to the government, we have represented that the GST on black pepper at the farm level should be waived. General issues, I had the opportunity to visit the Atal Incubation Center when I was Vice President along with our past President, the Atal Incubation Center for Coffee in Bangalore. So it's very, very impressive what they're doing. They're nurturing startups. There's Make in India that is being promoted there. Value addition, training of people for the present ecosystem. So an idea came, why don't we look at an Atal Incubation Center for tea and spices? So we made a proposal to the ministry, to Tea Board, to setting up an Atal Incubation Center under the Atal Innovation Mission. So this has brought about much needed innovation. So this proposal, I understand T-Board has already worked on the proposal. They've put in a lot of effort, and they're looking at the right opportunity to take this forward. So EUDR is changing the landscape of all plantation crops. Only deforestation-free products, that is plantations that have been planted before the cutoff date of 31st December 2020 will be allowed for import into the European Union. This, among our crops, it applies for coffee and natural rubber, palm oil, cocoa, there are various other crops, but for a plantation crops, it's coffee and natural rubber. We at UPASI, we are of the view that this is advantages for traditional growing areas like ours because we are EUDR compliant. So we have been engaging with Coffee Board and Rubber Board, who are completely seized of the matter, to have a mechanism in place that is acceptable to the EU. Therefore, we can take advantage of that. Let me now take the opportunity on recalling with gratitude the help and support that we have received from various quarters during the past year. I would like to thank Mr. Amandeep Singh Bhatia, the former Additional Secretary Plantations, Ministry of Commerce and Industry, for the support he extended during our visit to Delhi. He gave us a lot of time. He was someone who went into detail on every issue we raised, and the Ramasheshan committee, many committees, not only did he form them, he also saw through the tenure of those committees and those recommendations to be released. So we are grateful to him for all the support and what his contributions to the plantation sector. I would like to thank Dr. Jagdisha, CEO and Secretary Coffee Board and Secretary Spices Board, the Executive Director of Tea Board, Dr. M. Muthukumar, Mr. M. Vasantagisan, ED Rubber Board, and Mr. Dharmendra Das, Director Development Spices Board, for attending the conference and extending their support. I would also like to thank Mr. Saurabh Pahari, Deputy Chairman Tea Board, and Mr. S. Soundarajan, Director Tea Development Tea Board. Through the year, I have received tremendous support from the Vice President, Mr. Matthew Abraham, Mr. Jeffrey Rebello, the immediate past President, the Chairman of our 4 commodity committees, all members of the UPASI Executive Committee, and also our past presidents, for which I am grateful. The strength of UPASI is in the coordinating backing it receives from the 3 state associations, Planters Association of Tamil Nadu, Association of Planters of Kerala, and Karnataka Planters Association. I express my gratitude to all 3 chairmen, their executive committee members, and the secretaries. Mr. R. Sanjit, the Secretary General at UPASI headquarters, has demonstrated unwavering dedication and tireless efforts throughout the year, making invaluable contributions to UPASI. We are indeed fortunate to have him on our team. Dr. D. Balla, our Resident Director at Delhi, Dr. Victor Ilango, Director UPASI TRF, Mr. D. Sanyal, Delhi Representative, and all scientists, officers, and staff at our Secretariat deserve my sincere appreciation for their work. I'm very fortunate to have my mother and father here today. Their influence and support have been invaluable, and I'm grateful for the countless ways they've helped shape my path. I would like to specially thank all the members of our association for allowing me to serve you as president and reposing your trust in me during the past year. Last but not least, I thank all of you ladies and gentlemen for responding to our invitation and gracing this occasion. Thank you. Yeah.